Om. 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 Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. We are going to begin today with the third chapter of Kenopanishad. And don't forget the last verse of the previous chapter. What did it say? Where are we? Iha chedavedi datha satyamasti na chediha vedin mahati vinashtihi bhuteshu bhuteshu vichitya dhiraha pretyasmad lokad amruta bhavanti. What is that? Iha here, ched avedita. And if one knows Brahman, then atha satyam asti, then the one, that one has reached the fulfillment that one is born in this human birth. Only then. If not, na ched iha avedita. If you have not come to know the ultimate fulfillment, if you have not been able to recognize that the essence is pure consciousness, essence of ours, that I am in essence the pure consciousness. I am not the one who I believe myself to be, and have the courage to discard, to let go. Tyage naike amritatva manashu. Ready to let it go, not hold on. And if we are not able to let go, if we are not able to give it up, if we are not able to recognize that we are deathless, then mahati vinashti, then a great destruction you have brought about on yourself. What is the great destruction? Great destruction is birth, rebirth, birth, rebirth, birth, rebirth. After so many yonis, mosquito to butterfly, but no, maybe mosquito to bee, bee to butterfly, maybe even before that, maybe from fish to bird, bird to land animal. Life as such is always trying to reach perfection. And among the living beings, the most perfect, even you are the most, you are in jail, but you are a human being. Human being is the creme de la creme of creation. He is the perfection in the creation. Who? The man, at a physical level. But that perfection, that evolution does not stop there. Does not stop with the body, does not stop with the human birth. The opportunity is given only to the human being to pursue the perfection, to pursue the essence. He has been gifted with an intellect which he can discriminate. No other species has that intellect. Well, it is, but it is not fully developed. But in human beings, if we have not used that intellect to attain the ultimate fulfillment, then it is a great disaster indeed. See? And that is what he says, Bhuteshu Bhuteshu Vichitya Dhiraha. Huh? Among in all Bhuteshu Bhuteshu, in all beings, Vichitya Dhiraha. Then what is to be Dhiraha, the wise people, what do? They see the Atman, they see the reality, they see the pure consciousness, they see the self expressing in all beings. Then it is unconditional love. Then there are no differences. Well, I should say, in spite of differences, there is oneness. Just like you see the differences in the body, but you feel you are one. Imagine you see the whole creation and you feel you are one. And what is your creation? Waking, dream, deep sleep, samadhi. Nothing is outside that. Nothing is outside these four. And where are all these? They are in your mind only. You have projected it. And then you have imagined that I am only this body. So who are the dhiraha? The wise person, wise people? Wise people are those who have seen, who have come to this disposition where they see the self expressing in all beings. It is not that you have oneself, he has oneself. No, 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 no. They see themselves expressing without a break. Purnamada Purnamidam. Continuous, homogeneous expression in and through all the beings. Just like the gold sees itself expressing through all the ornaments. The water sees itself expressing through all the waves. Similarly, we will not stop at all the beings does not mean only human beings. All the animals, all the insects, all the worms, all the birds, all the oceanic, those who live in water. It doesn't stop there. Bhur bhuva swa tapa jana maha satyam doesn't stop there. What is the lower worlds?
Atala Vitala Sutala.
Atala Vitala Sutala, thank you. So all the 14 lokas, everywhere he sees himself only, the self only expressing. See, and if that has not, see, in Vedanta, as Gurudev used to say, or Gurudev, everyone, there are two ways of looking at it. One is you attain realization at the end of this body. Some people believe that way, that you are at the threshold as long as the body is functioning. When the body stops functioning, means it stops having the ability to reflect life through it. That is called death. And a person has prepared himself for that moment, like our Parikshit Maharaj, and you realize at that time. But Shankaracharya says, Jivan Mukti, while living, not at the end of the breath, with the last breath, while living. While living. And I have moved around in India a lot. I have met many Mahatmas, and Usha's husband also, he went and met Darga Swami. That Darga Swami, in 98 when I met him, he said, nothing in this creation moves without my permission. At that, we were young that time. Baba was like that. Amma is like that. All great masters, they have confirmed. They have confirmed, because once body has gone, there is no one to confirm you. But there are living masters today also. And they have confirmed that what Shankaracharya is saying is correct, that Jivan Mukti while living is possible. Otherwise it becomes only an imagination. क्या होगा भाई बाद में, किसी को क्या पता. And they are living examples who have utilized their life and attained, in spite of all difficulties, in spite of all challenges, obstacles, they have attained perfection while living. One day we will take stories of all different saints. Someone was suggesting after Bhagavad concludes, Swamiji take, but most probably we'll take Adhyatma Ramayana after Bhagavatam concludes, another few months. And then we will take the Mahatmas.
Great motivators.
Huh?
Great motivators.
Great motivators, absolutely. Living masters, living inspiration. Just by being in their presence, you are inspired. You don't have to even talk. Just by thinking about them, I'm telling you my experience. I've come across so many of them. Every trip I come across someone or the other. And some have made a greater impact. And when you think of them, immediately all the cobwebs from the mind just melt away, become undone. When you think of Adi Shankaracharya in 16 years, he studied 16 years, he did so much work for the humanity, for the Sanatan Dharma. And we are now what? We are 60, going to be 60 soon. What can we complain about when yesterday I took one satsang in Hindi. It is called Bara Khadi. Bara Khadi means ka kha ga gha nga cha cha ja ja ya ta ta, the Sanskrit Devanagari alphabets. So one young boy was there, and his father, first day he sent him to school, the school in the village, and the teacher gave him a slate and a chalk. And he said, okay, from the blackboard, you write down all the alphabets that I have written, ka kha ga cha cha ja ta ta da ta ta da pa pa ba. This young 6-year-old boy, he wrote ka, and he wrote 2 chaupais. Chaupais are like shlokas. Whole Ramayana, Tulsi Ramayana is in chaupai. Chaupai, doha, and sortha. So chaupais. Then with every consonant, that 6-year-old boy composed a beautiful poem remembering that Keval Ram Bhajore Bhai, Keval Ram Bhajore Bhai. See? 6-year-old. So our life must be geared towards this ultimate fulfillment. Instead, what do? We live with our ego. We live with raga dvesh. We live for, we think this world is a bhogya vastu, only to be taken and enjoyed, only to be interacted and enjoyed. When we look at something, meet someone, think of something, it's always what is in it for me. Get out of all this. No, if you have everything that comes into life in this creation, its nourishment is already taken care of. That you have to explore. That you have to explore in your life. Instead, we are only at the mercy of the objects of the world, having a bucket list. So when we come to this human birth, from human birth, then what is the next? Gurudev used to say that, what is that? The trees can't move anywhere. They are stuck in one place. If food comes to them, they can, if the rain comes, they will grow, they will get the nourishment, but they can't move around and collect food. This is an inert creation, living creation. Then came animals. And so there, where does the tree grow? Tree grows upwards. Roots are downwards. Can't move anywhere. Waiting for nutrition to come. Then next one comes the animals, or the what do you call?
Sthavara Jangama?
No, not Sthavara Jangama.
Tiryak, Swamiji.
Ah,
Tiryak,
Tiryak.
where
So-
the spinal cord is transverse.
Ah, next come, let's say next come the animals. What happens in animals? They eat from, so trees were eating from the bottom, from the roots and growing upwards. Animals are eating from the front and growing backwards. Body grows. Then human came. What does he do? He eats from top and grows downwards. Now what's the next? We grow round. We eat from everywhere. So the next evolution in creation, it cannot be at the physical level. In the human level, the woman is more perfection, is a greater perfection than man. She can reproduce also. Man cannot. At the physical level, we are saying. But what's the next evolution? It cannot be at the physical level. It has to be mental. It has to be transcendental. And if we are not exposing ourselves to that possibility, if we are not exploring that possibility, then here it says, Mahati Vinashtihi. It's a great destruction of this human birth. Because after what you get involved in this birth, suppose you get involved in the cat or the dog, and while the last breath you think of your cat or dog, according to the scriptures, that's the yoni you will go into. How many lifetimes it will take, how many births it will take for you to again come back to the human birth. So don't waste this opportunity. Pretyasmat lokad amrita bhavanti. So then, having gone beyond this world, going beyond this world means what? Not going to any of the lokas, not going to Saket or Kailash or this or that. No name. We are talking only about Brahman. We are not talking about relative planes of existence. We are talking about the transcendental plane. And it's not even a plane. It's you. All you have to do is recognize. For that, scriptures are available. Apply yourself correctly to the scriptures. Be available to the satsang. Read the stories of Mahatmas. And be sincere about it. Let there be an urgency. Let there be mumukshutvam. Automatically everything will start coming. Vivek Vairagya will automatically come. But don't think that that it is when it says pretyasman pretyasmat lokad amruta bhavanti. Such wise people, they attain immortality, having gone from this world, meaning transcended the world of senses, and in the senses, the mind also comes. Meaning, they are functioning through the body with senses and mind, but they are not under the clutches of the senses and the mind. They are not enslaved by the thoughts and the senses. See? And it is not that they're thinking, oh, I don't have to get caught up in this now. Now I don't have to, another thought is coming, I should not get. Then we are still on the journey. But these wise men, they have recognized Ishavasya sarvam yat kinjit jagatyam jagat. They have recognized that everything, the self is not other than that Isha principle. See? And in this manner, this realization which these wise men have, this fulfillment that these wise men have come to be, it is not to be attained in some point of time in future. Then where? Right here and now. When? While listening. Why is it not happening? You are not available. Still too many doubts, too many notions, too much body identification. So make yourself available. Make yourself available. For that, whatever is required, you do. You don't, frankly, to be available, you don't have to do anything. For making your mind free of all thoughts and memories and go to sleep, you don't have to do anything, just lie down. That's all. And think of sleep. Then what do you have to do here? You have to just sit in one place, lie down in one place, hang from a branch and sit there, or hang there, or swim, or do whatever, wherever you are. But your attention must be on the pure consciousness. And automatically everything will be released from your mind. Meaning the desires in the mind, the thoughts in the mind will not be able to persecute, will not be able to, you are not available to it, because you are available to, and that's why mumukshutvam is very important. But how we are living in life, even at this moment, I'm no one to judge. You check. Satsang is a place where we come in tune with ourselves. So are we listening as a listener, or is our attention on the conscious principle? Are we aware that the listening is taking place? If for some reason, someday, you miss the satsang, is there a feeling of loss? Then we are kacha. We are not pakka. Nothing is going to be gained in the future period of time. Whatever is to be gained is here and now. Prepare, 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 prepare. Inculcate this mumukshutvam. And Guru will come. Shrotriya Brahmanishta Guru must come into our life. He will come, don't worry how. And he is able to then guide our mind further. The final, just like when I'm talking about how the memories come sometimes, but this is 92, 93. I'd just come to Australia and I wanted new country, new people, new culture, and income was not that great as I was ever getting in Europe. So I said, I need to do something in order to get ahead. So, okay, how do I overcome that I don't speak the Aussie slang and Aussie language the way they speak? And initially it was difficult to understand also. So I did what do you call fire walking exercise. 2 days of training and whole day. First day lecture, preparing the mind. Second day, lecture doesn't make you ready for a walk, but next day, trial runs. Not one, not 200 times trial runs till the teacher, the facilitator, meaning the teacher, the Guru Maharaj, was able to see that even in the trial run, you are in that zone. Now, trial run is trial run. There is no fire there. It's only carpet. And then myself and my friend, 160 of us, and myself and my friend, we had brought all the wood. We were helping the facilitator to organize this. We had invited him. And we put this 1100 Fahrenheit wood burning, made it into beautiful glowing charcoal. And Guru Maharaj there, that time he said, oh, perfect. I have never seen fire like this. Looks very inviting. Come on, let's go out. And all 160 of us, he didn't allow everyone. Many doubts came. Will I not be? Will I burn? And we saw some people get the embers stuck between their toes and all those things. But there was a pool of water there, it would go away. But we are seeing, and at times the doubt also came. But when our turn came, you remember all the training, you remember the lecture, what you had heard that time. And then he gives you a push. Okay, go. He's not looking at just at your body. He's looking into your eyes. You have to look into his eyes. Then he knows you are ready or not. Is there an element of fear? Then he will put you aside. If there is an element of doubt, he'll put you aside. See? So that teacher tells us, that teacher told, okay, go, and went. And what was the experience like? Walking on clouds. It was unreal after paying so much money. I paid so much money for this and volunteered also to help. So thinking, not feeling satisfied with it, I took a piggyback. Still no feeling. Because now you are in that nothing. You have overcome the fear of fire. As long as we are attached, as long as we are desiring the world, till then the fear that it will be taken away from me. Till then the fear that my existence, I am because the world is there. I am because the body is there. I am because the memories are there. This fear needs to go away. For that, mananam is required. After Shravanam, mananam is required. Again and again contemplate that you are that one indivisible principle. See? And where are you doing this? You're doing this in your mind only, no? The doership is also in the mind. The kartrutva, all abhiman is also in the mind. The bhoktrutva abhiman is also in the mind, isn't it? That's the only tool we have. And we have to mold it in such a way that it is able to surrender at an higher altar in spite of all the fears. To overcome fear, it's not a slow process, it's just one moment and you transcend it. You don't go to sleep slowly. One moment you are awake, next moment you are in deep sleep. See? Same way. So same. Now, why I told you all this? Okay, one thing was the greatness of the human birth. But now as we come to the mind, that all sadhana is in the mind only, with the mind we are trying to understand, with the mind we are trying to contemplate on that transcendental principle, that is our essential nature. And it says, aprapya manasa saha. Taittiriya Upanishad says that mind cannot comprehend it. So towards this, how to negotiate through this mind, that only our Vedas, our Upanishads are experts at it, if we are available. And better even that you listen to a realized master, like Adi Shankaracharya, like Jnaneshwar Maharaj. Or find one. Well, I shouldn't say find one, they will come to you. See? So how do we go beyond this kartrutva and bhoktrutva? Towards that, because see, when it said, now we are coming in this third chapter, the Pada Bhashya, page 97. Page 97. And here it says that avijnatam vijanatam vijnatam avijanatam ityadi shravanad yadasti tad vijnatam pramanaihi yannasti tad avijnatam shasha vishana kalpamatyanta atyantam eva asadrishyam. So here he says that those who say, meaning those with this mind, so many people are very, very intellectual, they are very well studied. Before you can speak, they already tell the shloka. Once you have exposed yourself to a certain teacher, this was our experience also before Swami, even now, when Swamiji is speaking, we can complete the sentence before he completes in our mind. Because takiya kalam ho jata hai, takiya default settings. And with respect to certain terms and terminologies within the scriptures, what they mean, that also we understand. So we know how he's going to put it across. Sometimes, most of the times we know, other times it changes. So of course there is n number of ways to express the same thing. And that all depends upon where the speaker is sitting. So where the speaker is sitting is the Vyaspeeth. Vyas means where one word is expanded into, multiplied into many words for the benefit of the listener, student, seeker. Different, like our Jnaneshwar Maharaj does with endless examples. See, So here he says that in the those who know the truth, like this student who said, I have come to know it very well. So the teacher, the Bhashe is saying that those who think they know it very well, they don't know it. Huh? Avijnatam vijanatam, vijnatam avijanatam. And those who do not know the truth, or they say that they don't know it, but they know it is there. Because a normal person believes what he can experience, experience through the senses. You understand? So when it says that vijnatam avijanatam, that he knows it cannot be known through the five senses, it cannot be known through the mind. Because it cannot be experienced through the five senses and the mind or the intellect, cannot be conceptualized by the intellect, it does not mean that it is not there. They know it is there. Therefore, vijanatam. Whereas others have done great sadhana, they have become body disidentified, they are able to focus, they go into samadhi, nirvikalpa samadhi, and then they declare, I have come to know the truth. I am realized, you are not. If you touch my feet, my realization will get transferred to you. Don't touch, only touch the padukas. There are Mahatmas like this also. They don't know. They don't know. Someone who has done a very deep, intense study of the scriptures, they are able to suss out all the contradictions. They know everything inside out. Many, many brainy people are there, unlike us. I'm not into too much of intellectualization. Our focus is the truth, being the truth. But there are, and they come, logically they will keep, and but they still are there in their mind only. They have not transcended the mind. See? And they write books after books after books. It's an intellectual itch to express. So those who know, don't know. Those who say don't know, that how don't know? That the senses and the mind and the intellect cannot come to know. But that does not mean that it is not there. They only know. So such buddhu, ityadi shravanat yadasti tad vijnatam pramane mein, and such dull-witted fellows, that they should not, these dull-witted fellows should not come to this conclusion that this truth, that this unknowable knowable, that it can be known through some means. It can be known through some means. And the example given here is Shasha Vishana Kalpamatyantam Eva Asadrushtam, like the horns of the hare. So a hare or a rabbit, he does not have any horns, but you are telling the whole story with the topic of hair of the horns. Same way, you are using all the words to explain the unexplainable. How many lectures on Kenopanishad? The teacher himself said, I don't know how to express it. I don't know how to communicate it to you. You have to, it's your responsibility, not mine. You have to work it out. I'll give you the data. I'll guide you, but you have to work it out. It cannot be presented by me to you. So in this manner, so nobody can come to know the size and length and dimensions of the hair of the horn. And so ignorant people will understand that there is nothing like Brahman. Dull-witted fellows, they will understand there is nothing like Brahman. So this could be, for this purpose, to remove this, so that this does not happen, this third chapter is beginning. Because first two chapters were very cryptic, were very abstract. That same knowledge of the Upanishads, when it is given by way of Puranas, it's so sweet. Krishna Lila, it is so sweet. Ram Lila, it is so sweet. It is so captivating, enthralling. But in and through that story, the theme is none other than the infinite truth. Even that big historical thesis called Mahabharata and Ramayana also. So many things are there in Mahabharata, but ultimate is the ultimate, the theme in and through. It goes this way, it goes that way, just like all the nerves along our spine go all everywhere in the, but it's all connected to the main spine. The entire Mahabharata, what is the heart of Mahabharata? The Bhagavad Gita. And dialogue between whom? The Nara and Narayan. That is the main theme. Rest everything is to bring you to that point. That they are essentially one. That without the Narayan, nothing happens. Tathedam Brahma Vijñātatvad asad eveti mandabuddhinam vyamoho ma bhuditi tadarthe yam akhyayika arabhyate. Akhyayika arabhyate, the story that we are going to tell, this is the purpose, that dull-witted fellows should not come to this conclusion that there is, because they can't see it through their senses, they cannot work it out with their mind and intellect, they cannot feel it, means it is not there. To bring this, to make them not come to that conclusion, this Akhyayika begins. Tadeva hi Brahma sarva prakarena prashastru devanam api paro devaha. That this Brahma, tadeva hi Brahma sarva prakarena prashastru, that he is the overlord of everything and everyone, and not only everything and everyone, but he is the overlord of all, he is the Ishvara of all the Devas. And he doesn't stop there. Ishwaranam api Parameshwaraha. And this pure consciousness, this truth, which is beyond the scope of mind and intellect and senses, he is the Ishvara of the Ishwaras. He is the Ishvara of all Ishwaras. So what is, first you have the Indra and the Devas. Then who is the Lord of Indra and the Devas? Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. Who is the Lord of Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh? Ishvara. Who is this? Parameshwara, Parameshwara. So there must be many Ishwaras in different cosmoses. He is the Ishvara. It's a way of saying that he is the ultimate. Now don't, no, who is his boss? Stop here. And Durvigneyah Devanam Jaya Hetuhu Asuranam Parajaya Hetuhu, and he is the cause. He is not, he cannot be cognized, but he is the cause of the victory. It is because of him that the Devas win against the in the Devasur Sangram, and it is him, because of him, by his will, by his wish, because of his presence, that the Asuranam Parajaya Hetuhu, that he is the cause of the defeat of the Asuras. Tat katham nasti iti etasya arthasya anukulani yuttarani vachansi drushyante. Then tat katham na asti iti. Then if he is the cause of the victory of the Devas and he is the cause of the defeat of the Asuras, then how can you say he is not there? There must be something that he must be there. How can he not be there? Therefore, he is, for sure, there is that one which is beyond the senses and the mind and the intellect, because of whom these senses, the mind and the intellect function. So think in this, keep that in your mind, and that there is someone because of whom the Devas, one, Asuras get defeated. There is someone that when you have, when lower desires are overcome by you, by proper thinking, that instead of watching some serial of or Master Chef, at this moment, you are here listening to that which is beyond your senses, mind, and intellect. So who is that? Keeping him in mind, keeping that unknowable, knowable in mind. Read the third chapter, or understand the third chapter. Or athva Brahma Vidyayaha Stutaye, or this another, or athva. So different options why this chapter is starting. Only two. Kathopanishad has a story where Nachiket goes to the gates of the Lord of Death, Yamaraj. And in this, there is a story. So, Athava Brahma Vidyayaha Stude. Maybe this third chapter begins for the stuti of the Brahma Vidya. To praise the Brahma Vidya. What was Brahma Vidya? What was given in the first and the second chapter? The experience of that student. And then the third, fourth, fifth verse, which was on the explanation, Pratibodha Viditam Matam. Say. So maybe it is, not maybe, or it is this chapter, the explanation that the story is coming about is because to sing, for the glory of the Brahma Vidya. That Brahma Vidya is not an imagination, it is. Brahma Vijnanadhi Agni Adayoho Deva Devanam Shresthatvam Jagmuhu. In what way? Because by Brahma Jnan, by the knowledge of the reality, the pure consciousness, the various gods, Agni, Vayu, etc., how did each one get the position that they have got? All the devas. Why Agni Devata is got the position of a Devata? Why the Asuras are Asuras and the Devas are Devas? Both from the same father. See? Why Brahmaji is Brahmaji? Why can't Brahmaji become Shivji? Why Shivji can't become Vishnu? Why Vishnu can't become Brahmaji? So, whatever, we are not talking about those three, but the Brahmaji, yes, we can talk about, but these other gods, that they became altars of praise, altars of worship. Who gave them that position? Did they come to that position by themselves? That they were born and suddenly they were there? So here it says, they achieved greatness because of him, and among all the gods, Indra is their boss, and he also got the Indrapad. We say he got it from by the Lord Vishnu and all, but here when it says, the Upanishad says he's the Ishvara of the Ishvara. He is the God of all gods. Who gave Vishnu the buddhi that this fellow must be made the Indra? It is his, what he has done, what is his disposition. Why did they get the Amritattva? Why did they get the nectar? Why did the Asuras not get nectar? Because of their thinking, because of their heart, because of their purity, because of their inclination. Or this chapter has begun again another or. Athava Durvigneyam Brahmeti etat pradarsyate yena agni yena agnyad yena agni adayoho atitejasopi kleshenaiva brahma viditavantah तथा इंद्र देवानाम ईश्वरोपि सन्न इति. The third option is that it is being shown, Durvigneyam Brahmeti etat pradarsyate. It is being shown that this Brahman, this infinite reality, how difficult it is to know it. Even though it is the essence, it is the substratum of everything inert and sentient, and it is so difficult to know because it is beyond the senses, mind, and the intellect. So therefore, this chapter is to show, the story that is coming up is to show that how difficult it is to come to know. That even though fire, which is very, very bright, very, very tejasvi, ati tejasopi, even though it is so bright and has so much power, even then it was not able to illuminate the Brahman. Or and on the other hand, Indra, who is the lord of all the gods, of all the devatas, even then he found it very difficult to recognize the reality. Found it very difficult. Continuing. Vakshamaanopanishad विधिपरं वा सर्वं ब्रह्मविद्या व्यतिरेकेण प्राणिनां कर्तृत्व भोक्तृत्व आद्यभिमानो मिथ्या इत्येतद् दर्शनार्थं वा आख्यायिका यथा देवानां जयाद्यभिमानः तद्वदिति. Or another or. How many ors have come now? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now fifth one. These are all the doubts that we might have in our mind. We are not able to think from all these different angles. The mother Upanishad, the mother Shruti is so compassionate that she is thinking for us. And here, Bhagavad Pad Adi Shankaracharya, in such detail, he is very gently, he is taking our mind and delivering us, our mind, at the altar of the divine, at the altar of Brahman. What does he say here? That क्या है? That this Upanishad, that all the Vidhiparam, all the do's and don'ts that are given in our in the various Upanishads, and maybe this Akhyayika, this story which is coming, is guiding you to what are the do's and don'ts, so that you can fine tune your senses, mind and intellect, overcome their gravity, and are able to tune in to that which is beyond the senses, mind and intellect. Maybe for this purpose, this story is coming up. And then it says, or another one, sixth one. What is that? Kartrutva, bhoktrutva, avidya, bhoktrutva, adya abhimano mithya, ityeta darshanartham va akhyayika. Maybe those, or it is for those people who are hell-bent on or living with kartrutva and bhoktrutva abhiman. There is such a strong doership and enjoyership that such people, this story is there to demonstrate to them that you have not discovered your essential self yet. Everything that you have come to a conclusion is only an imagination in your mind. Maybe to demonstrate this, this story is coming up. And till then, till we have not reached the right conclusion according to the Upanishads, till then we are only imagining conclusions as presented by our mind. We are, in other words, we are in the mind only. So maybe to demonstrate this, that, hey, don't keep imagining. So where there is kartrutva and bhoktrutva, abhiman, kartrutva, bhoktrutva, abhiman, mithya iti etat. Wherever there is doership and enjoyership, it is mithya. Mithya means it's an illusion. Illusion means that which is present in its own absence. That is mithya. What is mithya? Mrugatrishna, what do you call it? Mirage waters is mithya. You can see the water, but you cannot drink it. The blueness of the sky is mithya. Similarly, this bhoktrutva and kartrutva abhiman, if it is there, it is mithya, and mm, and because of this arrogance, because of this kartrutva abhiman, the gods could not recognize that ultimate reality. So, in other words, it is telling us through this particular or, athva, that if we are having an egoistic feeling, if we are arrogant, that we are very good speakers, that we are very good listeners, that we are sincere, arrogance of sincerity also. Sincere arrogance of goodness is very difficult to give up. Arrogance of lower things is easy to give up because you are going up. But when you are reached, you are following the discipline, you are taking the name of the Lord, you are attending satsangs, whole day the mantra is in your mouth. You understand what the teacher is saying. That can lead to another arrogance, that I am a good student, that I am a true mumukshu, there is no one better than me. And you compare yourself with others. You may not show it to others, but check, be alert. No comparison, no competition, and no arrogance that I know it, like that student, that I know it very well. Then the teacher had to reprimand him nicely, but sternly, so that, and he got the point because he was a seeker, and he goes and sits and comes to the realization. See? So for all these different reasons that we have 6, 7 reasons that we have given you, that this story, this Akhyayika is beginning. So now, what is this story in short? Then we will go through the verses. Once there was a Devasur Sangram. And in that Devasur Sangram, fight between the good and the bad. The fight between the Devas and Asuras. The fight between the immortals and the mortals, relatively. Gods are relative immortality with them. But will not gods always win? Yes, they do win, but there are many times when they get defeated also. But this time, they won against the Asuras. And, like any victorious army, when it comes back to its camp, each one is thumping their chest, we did it. And they are all boasting, how I killed those people, how I made those Asuras run away, how I burned that, how I drowned them, how I, used the various astras to defeat them. And each one was boasting that I did this. If someone, this is what we do when we go to, if we are typical in mothers. What is that? If one moment, my internet is unstable, it says. Yeah, okay. Oi. Can you hear? Can you hear?
Yeah, you have come back now, Swami. There was a little gap.
There was a little gap. Okay. Okay. Strange. Why it is taking place like that? Okay. So When a young mother comes and tells my mother, my child is, when he's just learned how to walk and now he's moving, that child is pulling, at 1 year, 2 months, he's pulling himself on the bum, it's so cute, and she shows the video and everything. What does my mother do? When Swamiji was 1 year, 2 months old, he was already walking. Now this young mother with 1 year, 2 months child, and how old is Swamiji? Huh? But mothers are like this. Immediately they'll, if someone says, I had an accident, the other will say, that is nothing, the other time when I was going, my accident was better than yours, more dangerous than yours. If you say, I got a speeding ticket, that is nothing, how much I got the speeding ticket for? Every damn thing there is a competition. Exactly the same way, these gods. Who are these gods? Nothing but the thoughts in our mind only. Potentialities within our mind. This is the sun god, this is the moon god, this is the Indra, the lord of the mind is Indra, the Ashwini Kumars, the Vishnu, the Rudra, Shiva, sorry, not Rudra, Shiva, Rudra here. So they were boasting to each other. And Indra is busy, he's in his, and these fellows are over their drinks. What is that ras that they drink? Somras. They're drinking somras and they are boasting to each other. And at that time, suddenly they see and they get, if you have, I'm saying only in movies, okay? When you see in movies, there are no walls of heaven. It is open, only pillars, and you can see as far as you can see. Suddenly, far away, they see a huge, magnificent, inexplicable vision. And suddenly they say, hey, what was that? So they say, whom to send to explore? We should send some, like the government, if something goes wrong, they organize a commission and they put one ex-judge or someone in charge of that commission, royal commission. So all these gods got together, what to do? Okay, let's send one party and find out who is this, who is there. And they just won the war, and with that arrogance, they said, okay, the Agni, you are very powerful and nobody can stand in front of your fire. You can even evaporate the water. You are in the garb of the earth. You go. He says, of course, in 2 minutes, I'll be back. Arrogance. He goes there. And when he goes there, that yaksha, understand, Agni, there are 5 elements with which the universe is made: space, air, fire, water, earth. Space has got no form, air has got no form, fire has a form. Sapta jivha, they say, no? So Agni goes there, and this yaksha, who is there, he says, introduce yourself, who is coming? He says, who's coming? Who are you to ask me? I am the great Agni who has just won the Devarso Sangram for the Devas. I killed so many. Don't you know who I am? Acha? Oh, great, sir. Sorry. I spoke to you. I asked you. But if you are so great, let me please demonstrate your greatness. And he gives one blade of grass, this yaksha, this infinite pure consciousness, Brahman, takes the form of the Yaksha for Agni, gives him a blade of grass with a dot of one drop of water on it. And he says, please burn this. Then I will believe that you are the greatest. And the Agni, oh my God, he invokes all his power. First he says, oh, it's only a blade of grass. It doesn't burn. It doesn't even get hot. It's still green. It's still fresh. The water is not evaporating. It increases its temperature. And when it has reached its peak and he is not able to bring about even a minuscule of destruction in that leaf or evaporation in that drop of water, out of frustration, he just turns back and goes back to the Sabha, Indra Sabha. And all of them are expectantly waiting, Agni will come and say, who is he? Oh, what happened? I don't know, and went and sat in a corner. Now what to do? Who's more powerful than Agni? Vayu. So they send Vayu. Vayu goes there. Same question. Who's coming? Please introduce yourself. He says, don't you know who I am? In a matter of moment, in a second, I can make entire universes go upside down. And you are asking me who I am. He said, oh, such a great one has come. Oh, very good. Please demonstrate your greatness. See that blade of grass with a drop of water on it. Please destroy it. And the Vayu Devata tries and tries and tries and tries and eventually becomes unsuccessful, and with a head bent low, turns back, comes back to the Dev Sabha, and everyone says, what happened? He says, I don't know. Because ashamed to say even that I got defeated, that I was unable to make an impact on a minuscule thing like a drop of water on a blade of grass. Few moments ago, I was singing arrogantly the self-glory. This is what we do, isn't it? Maybe you are not, you must have also, when you meet in social circles, each one is comparing what car have you got, what car have you got, how many investments you have, how much money you have, how much bank balance you have. And it doesn't stop with the grahasthas, in ashrams also. How many chelas do you have? How many people you have initiated? How much funds you get every year in donation? This is between ashrams. Huh? Temples also same thing. As if that is the earmark of success. This is to show where we are going wrong. We'll talk about in the 4th chapter, then this whole story will be undone. What is the philosophical meaning behind the story? I'm just giving you tidbits so you get कि हम बच्चे नहीं हैं अभी स्टोरी सुनने के लिए. So I'm giving you in short. So when Indra comes to hear of this, that all this, Agni Devta, Vayu Devta, both of them got defeated. They could not, who is this? They said, we don't know who it is. We could make out, but we could not make out. So Indra says, Acha, this is very interesting. But remember, Indra is, Agni Devta is the god of fire. Fire, sun and the moon, and the Jataragni, Vayu, not only the breath going in and out, but also the smell. Two in one. So Indra Bhagwan, Indra is the Lord of all the gods. Mean all the faculties, there is a ruler. What is that ruler? The mind. Without mind, can the senses function? No. That mind is the Indra. The seat of Indra is the mind. Where is Kartrutva Abhiman? In the mind. How does mind express or grab what he wants or what he desires? How does he do the bhog of his desires? Through the hands. He does the act, performs the action. He's also, Indra is also the lord of the hands. And what does he do with that? Grabs the results. Grabs the results. So he is the Kartrutva, he is the Bhoktrutva also. Now this, and that's what we are. Now this Indra Bhagwan, he says, everyone, okay, calm down, cool, take it coolly. Let me go and explore. Because senses have come to a full stop. They can't make out who is this fellow, who is so powerful than them. So now Indra is intrigued. He says, okay, let me go and check it out. And he goes. And the moment he goes, as he's approaching it, the moment he turns to that spot where the Yaksha was, Yaksha vanishes. The moment the Indra Bhagwan approaches the Yaksha, Yaksha means, Yaksha is an apparition. The Yaksha vanishes. But Indra, he knows that others have failed. They are very powerful, but they have failed. So he must be powerful. And he goes with humility, he goes with surrender, he goes with curiosity, he goes with a sense of exploration, he goes with intrigue. And as he's walking towards that spot where the Yaksha was, the moment he reaches there, Yaksha vanishes. So he knows that something is there, but what it is, he is not able to know. Indra knows something was there or is there, but what it is, he is not able to give a form to it. Then what is there now? There is nothing. There is absence. Now Indra, with full humility, with full alertness, with full awareness, with full surrender, wanting to know that it must be someone very great. Continues to look at that spot where the Yaksha was, even though there is nothing. Indra keeps looking at that spot where the Yaksha was, Yaksha, that apparition, that infinite reality which had taken a form for Agni and Vayu. And while he's looking, without expecting anything, without wanting anything, without desiring anything, without fear, fully available, looking at that blank spot. Suddenly, in that place, Uma, the daughter of Himavan, she appears and she gives him instructions that whom you saw, but you are not able to suss it out. He is the Ishvara of the Ishwaras. He is the Brahman. And it is because of him the entire universe is functioning. He is the material of the entire creation. He is your essence. He is the Asura's essence. He is, therefore, Indra Lokis. He is, therefore, all the Devas and Asuras are. Without him, nothing else can exist by itself. He is the substratum. Now, with this background of the story, we get into the chapter. क्या time है? 8:53. Let's start one verse and then continue next week. So, the arrogance of the gods is the topic of this chapter. Brahma devebhyo vijigye tasya brahmano vijaye deva amahiyanta. Vijigye, popularly known, it is famous, it is well known. What? Brahma devebhyo tasya brahmano vijaye deva amahiyanta. That Brahman alone was instrumental in bringing about the victory for the gods. And because of that victory, there was great pratishtha, great, what do you call? They gained greatness because of that victory over the Asuric Shaktis, powers. Now the Bhashya, Brahma yatha ukta lakshanam param hakila devebhyo arthaya vijigye jayam labdhavat devanam asuranam cha sangrame asuran jitva jagadaratin ishvara setu bhetrum devebhyo jayam tat phalam cha prayachha jagatah sthemne. He says, Brahma yatha ukta lakshanam param. That Parabrahma Paramatma, that Brahman, it is well known that he was instrumental in bringing about the victory. Vijigye jayam labdhavat devanam asuranam cha. And to bring about the victory for the devas and क्या बोला है? असुराणाम च संग्रामे asuran jitva. And where was this victory? It was in the Devasur Sangram, which was between the Devas and the Asuras, because they are against each other. The good forces against the bad forces. What is the difference between the Devas and Asuras? Anyone knows? Okay, I'll give. Anyone wants to tell? Then tell.
They are Aditi's children and Diti's children, Swamiji.
Yeah, that is true. More, it's a story. That's a story. more pertinent. Who are Devas and Asuras? Asura vritti is that which is matter oriented. Asura vritti is matter oriented. And Sura, Deva vritti is Ishwar oriented or God oriented or divine oriented. When shove comes to a push, they will run to the gods, to their bosses. Asuras very rarely. मैं करके दिखाऊंगा. And because there, now these are two possibilities which every human being has. So are we matter oriented or are we divine oriented in our life? Are we prayas oriented or are we shreyas oriented? Shreyas are devas, prayas are asuras. Nishreyas is Paramatma. That Nishreyas means that which is beyond Shreyas and prayas is Nishreyas. The absolute. So these, so who are these asuras? They are always out to bring about discord among the society, discord among the good people, persecute the good people, persecute the devotees of the Lord, break the temples, etc., etc., etc. All negative forces. They enjoy the chaos, no discipline. And why does Lord come? Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sanstapnarthaya. So he comes to establish dharma. Why he has to come to establish dharma? Because it is always the asuras, majority of the times, it is the asuras who have destroyed the dharma. How they have destroyed the dharma? In recent past of our Indian history, by burning all the libraries, by destroying all the temples, by killing all the learned Brahmins. This is how they destroy. By changing the education system, by inculcating in the Indian mind that Western education is greater than their culture. This is how they do it. And for fixing this, God has to come again and again. Remember whom you belong to. You don't belong to any religion. You are the children of Sanatan Dharma. What we are studying here is not Hindu religion. We are studying Sanatan. We are studying the eternal one. And the only way to know the eternal one is by being the eternal one. No religion teaches you that. So therefore, so these devas, he had helped the devas to destroy the asuras, and these devas and the greatness of the Paramatma or the Brahman or the Ishvara is that he helps the devas to defeat the asuras, and he doesn't say that I helped you win. He gives the spoils of the victory, because war is an action. Every action must have a result. And what was the result? Victory. He gave it to the devatas that, oh, the devatas, you won, without telling them that you won. He never keeps it for himself. Then why did he come and give them this test? We will see why he came and gave them this test. And when he gave the phala, the result of the victory to the gods, that is when all the gods like Vayu Devta, Varuna Devta, Agni Devta, etc., the Surya Devta, they became famous. And this is in the Devasur Sangram. So the story continues. The next verse talks about the appearance of the Yaksha, that Brahman, that infinite reality appearing as a Yaksha. We'll see it in our next class. Again, suddenly 10 minutes will be over if I get into it. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Few moments. And Saturday and Sunday, we are having the retreat. 9 a.m. it will start. Sri Ramana Gita. Hari Om. Those who are listening regularly, I will suggest that you log into the Zoom early, because if I have got maximum 45 spaces, I can't accommodate more than 45 people. Last time we already had 32, 33 people. So I don't know if any more come, and suddenly those who are coming regularly are not able to Zoom in, then it'll, so put it on and wait till I come on. Okay. Hari Om.
Oh, Swamiji.
Swamiji.
Hari Om.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Swamiji.